Well, hello, hi, I'm David Day with My Retirement Quest, and I want to show you how to make green eggs and ham. Now, we've all heard the Dr. Seuss book, I Will Not Eat Them, Some I Am, all that sort of stuff, but this was inspired actually by Huevos Rancheros, and I'll show you a picture. In fact, while I was in Florida last couple weeks ago, I had a wonderful and delicious Huevos Ranchero. And how do you get from split pea soup to Huevos Ranchero? Well, let me show you. Remember, we saved aside all that ham because if it's green eggs and ham, you want the ham to play a prominent role. And this is basically split pea soup. And if you want to know how to make this, I will show kind of a quick run through of making it, but I do have a whole video that will show you how to make this and so forth. But if you think essentially of this split pea soup, we have to turn this into the consistency of refried beans. And this was my brilliance. Obviously, I have not heard anyone else who's done this, and if you have heard of this, maybe others have as well, but this, I feel like I just came up with this on my own. And so let me show you here what I decided now. And unfortunately, just like dad jokes, you have to explain them and nobody laughs even after you've explained them. Well, some of my creative cooking ideas fell on deaf ears as well. So not only would my wife and kids not eat split pea soup, they would then obviously not eat the Huevos Rancheros or the green eggs and ham. It didn't matter what I called it, they still wouldn't eat it. So I get it. If when you look at this thing, the last thing you want to do is eat it. But the concept is you put the split pea soup essentially into a frying pan. And then what you're going to do is you're going to evaporate the liquid off of it. And so you have to watch it because it will burn. I've used a non-stick frying pan essentially, and I'll just keep stirring it until it has the consistency of refried beans. And then what I'll do is I'll put some eggs in it, and I'll cover that. And it's like you poach the eggs in the split pea soup, which becomes like refried beans essentially, right? But I think it's an incredible and creative utilization, because since I'm the only one eating the split pea soup, I make a batch of split pea soup. Well, if I repurpose it and have it, I could have then this for breakfast, and it feels completely different than the bowl of split pea soup that I would have had for dinner the night before. So anyhow, this may have been born out of necessity for me, but I think if you're a chef and you have a restaurant, if you want to do something crazy, I'll bet you nobody else has done this. I could see this being a signature dish. And it certainly wouldn't have to have the Mexican, like Huevos Ranchero classically will have the pico and the chips and things like this. But you could take this concept and I think you could turn it into some really fun things. Or maybe you could make this for breakfast on St. Patrick's Day or something like that. Let's be a little creative with this and see what comes up. So if you have a creative way of using this, or if you tried it and liked it, man, I would love. All I need is one like on this one. My kids, I can't get anybody to like it except for me. So I would love it if you try this. I mean, make some split pea soup and then do this and leave a comment. Did you like it? Were you even brave enough to try this? Am I totally crazy? Wait a minute, I've got a great idea. As I was making the green eggs and ham, I came up with this idea. And with Huevos Rancheros, you serve Pico de Gallo with it. And I was thinking, wait a minute here. I've got this delicious fruit. Let me go ahead and make essentially what will be a fruit pico. So we'll see how this works out here. I've got to cut a couple lines here. So let's see what we're going to do. I'm going to add the tomatoes. So this will be, so think of this like a fruit-based pico de gallo. And we're going to add some cantaloupe, some purple onions, and some pineapple. Look at this. But look at that, isn't that just gorgeous? Oh yeah. All right, so next step is going to be making my dressing. So here's what I'm thinking of. I'm going to make a sauce, and I'm going to make mayonnaise as the base of the sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and put about a quarter cup of mayonnaise in there. And then we're going to put a little bit of apple cider vinegar, just a little bit of tartness to it. The other thing I want to do is I want to add some sweet. So we could just use regular sugar, but I've decided I want to go ahead and adding in some maple syrup. And then let's see how this looks. Now, so it's just basically, actually that's really nice. I'm going to add in some lime juice because we want to keep this nice and fresh. Since we use basically fruits, I want to cut through that with some acidity, but I want the citrus note that this lime is going to bring. And it's also similar to the Pico de Gallo, right? It'll have those notes. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some picante sauce as well. Now that will make it a little bit pinkish, but it should have a great flavor. Do that. That'd be really nice. So you know I love to flavor things. So we're going to put a little bit of pepper in there, and a little bit of salt as well. Now, we're going to go ahead and mix that in, and then this should just give it just a delicious, we don't need too much of it. I think we'll just stop with that. Now, what do we notice here? We need a little bit of green, something to sparkle it up. So, I have some cilantro that we're going to go ahead and cut up. See how, oh man, that looks good. I love cilantro. Man, I think, so doesn't that just look delicious? So what this is going to do is it's going to serve a function in the green eggs and ham, because I'm going to actually interject this modification before I show you the end effect. I'll actually treat the way the actual eggs turned out almost as a blooper, and you'll understand what I mean. But I'm going to put this in the middle here, and I'm going to create the two eggs on top of the green, kind of the essentially the refried peas essentially, and show you, and then plate this with this delicious fruit pico de gallo and chips. And if you're a restaurateur or something like this, I would suggest doing something like this, something fun and unexpected, and I think you'll love it. All right, here we go. So what I've got the green eggs and ham almost to the consistency I want. So I'm going to leave it on kind of a low temperature because this is almost where I want it. Probably by the time the eggs are done, it'll be perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a couple eggs. And here again, you're going to make, this is going to be practical if you're going to serve, say 2 or 3 or 4 people, something like that. Because then you can make the eggs kind of to order, essentially. But if you have more than that, I would suggest doing something different than what I did. I would take this, once you have it ready, and put it in a baking pan, and then make holes for however many eggs you want. Let's say you're doing a brunch and you're going to serve 8 people or 6 people. I would put maybe 10 holes, pop the eggs in there, and then I would bake that in the oven for about 20, 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, something like that. But that way you'd be able to do it kind of, because as you saw, well, you'll probably keep watching and you'll see what will be kind of like the bloopers. You're going to see that the green eggs kind of got a little overdone. They were still fantastic. I loved it, but probably if you're doing it for people, I would suggest making this modification that I'm doing right here. And then we'll get rid of that. And for a plating idea, essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out that fruit pico that I made, and then we're going to put this on a plate with the eggs on top of that. So this fruit pico looks fantastic. Now I do have to watch this and keep an eye on it all the time, because as the water evaporates, you want to be aware of that. Perfect. Oh yeah. Now let's get the pico ready. Oh, it just smells delicious. See, this will be such a nice complement to the kind of, if you can imagine, not the heaviness, but the refried bean kind of texture of the pea is pretty strong. So having something fresh like this, I think will be just delightful. And I prefer my eggs over medium, so that's what I'm going to do. Obviously the over easy would probably look better, but it's not how I roll. I'm making this to eat, so I'm gonna make it how I like it. So first thing I'm gonna do then to get ready to be plated is I'm going to put this there. You can see the chunks of ham. We were real careful to make sure that there was a nice ham because it's green eggs and ham, right? So with that, now you could sprinkle some cheese if you like cheese, but look at this, man. I'm gonna turn that. That's green eggs and ham, and served with this beautiful fruit pico. What's not to like? So, as in the book, Samayan, he would not eat it in a box, he wouldn't eat it. But when he actually tasted it, he found that he liked green eggs and ham. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. Oh man, green eggs and ham with the melted egg yolk. I love it. And a nice piece of ham. And then let's see how this fruit pico. Perfect compliment. Fresh. You guys have to try this. That's all there is to it, even if you don't like split pea soup. Okay, so now you see that this has more of the consistency of like refried beans, right? And you could, you know, depending on how dry you like it, but you see how that's like refried beans? So what I'm gonna do, this is absolutely amazing. Can't believe this actually turns into this. I mean, it's just a remarkable dish. But you can see how this is a little bit of a, you gotta to sell this to your kids. It's I was never successful at selling this to my kid. Man, if you have a kid who will actually eat this, I would love to hear about this. Man, show a picture of your kid eating this, because I've often thought, man, this is just what a great, and I tell you what, you guys, it is so delicious. It really, but I can see how you'd probably have to like Huevos Rancheros, and you'd have to probably like split pea soup, but it really doesn't take, now, do you see how this is? That is like refried beans. So you may not like split pea soup, but I wouldn't be surprised if you'll like this, even if you don't like that. Wow. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna make a couple, I guess we'll call them divots. For the eggs now, and I want the eggs just to be there. I don't want them to go all the way. Ideally, we don't want them to go all the way through, I don't think. Let's just kind of create a, and we've got to turn it low enough. You can tell there's an opening there. It wants to come up. So I think what I'll do is let's do this. And it's wanting to spread around a little bit. I'd like to have the divot a little bit, a little deeper, but it is what it is, okay? Now, the other thing I'm gonna do is get some salt and pepper. And then use a little bit of salt. We don't need too much because the ham gives enough of that as well, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And we'll just, so I've got it on very low heat. I need to watch this, and we're gonna see how it turns out here. And this was one of the biggest challenges that I have, is trying to get those eggs to cook. Actually, I might actually try flipping this upside down so the eggs cook on the underside. So I don't know, we'll see what happens here. This is just back to, this is how I've always done it, but I'm thinking this thing through as I'm making this video, and I may refine it and do some different ways. So if you come up with something, I'd love to see it in the comments below. I'm loving the interaction. So I'd love to hear from you, and any suggestions you have would be greatly appreciated. I mean, green eggs and ham. I mean, I mean, isn't this just phenomenal? Well, as I was filming this and talking with you, and I came with that idea of flipping these eggs, I might just try that. This could be a disaster, but if it is, it'll make for a really interesting video. All right. Let's see. All right. Either way, it's going to be absolutely delicious. You know, it just my mouth is watering thinking about this. I love breakfast. In fact, I may make a playlist of and eggs ... because when we go to weekends with friends and things like that, I often find myself cooking, and I often invent and come up with different ways of eating leftovers and things like this. And I do have quite a reputation of doing things with eggs, and this is one of the things that I do. Now, there's a lot of things that now that I have a little bit of time, I can take these 40 years of living life. I'm now 58, right? But I've been cooking really since my late teens, and I can do some fun stuff too. So if you're interested, I'm thinking about maybe doing a video of bananas Foster, strawberries Romanoff. I do some flaming. I also do some decorating, like I'll carve alligators out of carrots and make doves or swans out of apples, those sorts of things. So if you're interested in me doing some of these, you know, it'll be very easy, because one of the buckets in my retirement quest is going to be, I have cooking with mom, like I showed mom teaching me how to make valsicaka. There's a lot of other things, comments on that from some of my siblings and our kids and things like that. They want me to film mom making several other foods and things. And so I may end up having a whole list of cooking ideas or recipes and things like that. In that, we're going to have a bucket that's about traveling and things like that. I'll be doing some of that. And like you saw, the house, I did a thing showing new homes in Florida, for instance. So we're going to have a lot of different things and activities, my e-bike and those sorts of things. So over the years, I hope this is going to be a very interesting channel with a number of different topics, all of which should be topics that will interest people in retirement or nearing retirement. So here we go. Let's try this out. Look at that. Now remember, with food, you can't necessarily go by how it looks. But man, oh man, I tell you, green eggs and ham, I mean, this just, wow, so delicious. Oh, look at this, man. Green eggs, oh. You know, this is unlike any dish you will probably ever have had. Wow. I mean, look at this. The split pea soup turns, it's like refried beans. I mean, this is so amazingly wonderful. Oh. The ham and the eggs, just great. Well, I'm David Day with My Retirement Quest. Like and subscribe if you want more of this. I've got lots of ideas of some more foods and things that I can show you how to make. If you make some of these, could you please show me either put a comment that said, hey, we did it. My email, davidaday.dc@gmail.com. You can send a picture of your kids eating it. It would be fabulous if you would. Anyhow, see you next time. Bye.